Welcome to episode 572 of the show. Before we begin, I'd like to apologize because today is another out and about recording, so you're going to hear lots of noise in the background, cars moving back and forth. Some people might even pass real close to me, and there are people having conversations all over the place. So, now with that warning out of the way, let's delve straight into the topic for today's show. Now, today we're going to look at trade shows for getting leads and chasing customers. It's a continuation of the topics that we have been discussing the past couple of days. Although we started off the narrative talking about new school methods, online methods. So since we've gone into that in a lot of detail, I'm not going to bother to make a recap. So this is your first time of listening to the show and you want to hear about SEO, what else? Advertising online, what else? Newsletters, those sorts of things. Just skip back the prior episodes, the last 5, 6 episodes, check the headers, the subjects, and you'll be able to find more information there to whet your curiosity. So, beginning with today, episode 572, we're going to start looking at old school methods. Now, when I say old school methods, I mean methods prior to the dominance of the internet. So I'm not speaking about new school, old school in any other context. Remember, now this classification is a personal one, so expect to see different classifications. If you go to the internet or if you check your business books about if you're researching lead generation and stuff like that, expect different kinds of classifications. But this is just a simple way that I think about it, so that we can explain it to folks. And maybe it also stems from my background in the wedding and the event industry, and so that's how we would kind of think about stuff like this. Internet or no internet, online versus offline, things of that nature. Okay, so straight to trade shows. Now, what is a trade show? A trade show is simply an exhibition to promote products and services. It's usually attended by lots of industry partners, and sometimes it's attended by customers, depending on how the whole thing was set up to begin with. Now, the different kinds of trade shows, since this is not my field, I can't give you guys an objective classification of the different kinds of trade shows and stuff like that. So I'm just going to go off of my personal experience in Abuja and in Lagos, just to give you examples of trade shows that I've either been a part of or that I have witnessed firsthand. So there is well, of course, for those of you who've been listening for a while, you know of my prior experience in the wedding and the event space. So, of course, there's wedding expos or wedding bridal fairs or whatever it is that you choose to call them. There's the bridal experience, which is organized by brides and babies. The bridal outfit in Abuja, Lagos, and Houston. And they throw this bridal experience, which is a 1 day affair where they have pre qualified brides who have already bought wedding dresses. And for me, that's one of the more choicy wedding expos or wedding fairs to attend, because these brides are very serious and it's a small crowd and it's very targeted. So it's a bridal fair that I've spoken about very highly. So if you've listened to this show for a while, you wouldn't be surprised to hear me repeat this recommendation. But I'd like to point out that I'm not under any form of retainership, or I'm not being paid in any way to endorse the organizers of this fair, but it's a good fair. So, what happens at Bridal Experience? Everybody shows up to the Brides and Babies store in Abuja in Wusetu. So it's all under one roof. And then there's an assortment of wedding photographers, wedding planners, food people, cakes, drinks, what else? Cakes, drinks, DJs. Okay, one DJ. MCs. The last time there were two MCs, masters of ceremony. Let's see what else. Okay, I think people in the travel space also come along for these sorts of things. That's for couples who are planning weddings abroad or they want to go for their honeymoons abroad. So those sorts of people also show up as well. So you can see what I alluded to in the earlier definition. It's an exhibition. We're all there to promote our products and services. I've taken part in several of these. So of course you have industry partners that are there. There's me. There's other photographers. There's other wedding planners, and then customers pass through. They get to see, meet and greet, do all their research, and then hopefully from there we'll get to drum up some business. So that's the idea of a wedding expo or a bridal fair. Now that's not the only one in Abuja, or rather in Nigeria. There's the wedding expo. Sorry, the Wed Expo. Yeah, that's. I think they call themselves Wed Expo. WED, Wed Expo. They're back again after COVID, and there's going to be one in Lagos for 2023. I don't know if they have anyone planned for Abuja. I used to be in touch with the organizer, Akin, the organizer of Wed Expo, but I haven't chatted with him in a while. And then since I'm not in the wedding space anymore, I didn't bother sending a message to find out if there's anything planned for Abuja. So if you're listening to this recording right now and you are a wedding event person based in Abuja and you're curious, just Google Wed Expo and Akin's website, and the numbers of the people that I need to reach will be there. You can call and find out if they have any plans for Abuja. So that's an example of trade shows in the wedding space and in the event space. Then there's also the GTB. GTB, that's a Guarantee Trust Bank, a Nigerian bank. There's the GTB Food and Fashion Fair or something like that. I think it's Food and Fashion Expo or Food or Fashion Fair, which also happens to be facilitated by this young man that I mentioned, Akin, the person who does the WED Expo. So I think for the Guarantee Trust Bank Food and Fashion, is it Food and Fashion Fusion? Or Food and Fashion Lifestyle or something. And if you search Google, you'll find it. It's a yearly thing. Lagos, yeah, I think Lagos. I haven't heard of it in Abuja. And of course, it's a bunch of vendors in the food space and in the fashion space, and everybody gets there and they're exhibiting their stuff. And then ordinary folks like me who are curious about food, because I'm definitely curious about food, we get to walk through, get to see different food vendors, different restaurants, stuff like that. And they're going to get an opportunity to, I'll have an opportunity to do my research. They also will get the opportunity to get some contact details so they can follow up later, maybe find some customers here and there. Other people who are into fashion, like my wife likes to dress up, so my wife might be there for the fashion end of stuff. And yeah, so that's another example. You have people, they're getting together, they're promoting their products and their services. In this case, they're promoting food, they're promoting fashion. Industry people are there, and then customers are also going to walk through, and may the best man win, or may the best woman win when it comes to generating business. And there's also the NSE, that's the Nigerian Society of Engineers, I think. They host multiple conferences and trade shows and things like that. I think the last one was organized in Abuja in 2022, and the concept is the same. Although I kind of suspect that for the NSE, maybe it might be mostly industry partners that might come through, and maybe not customers. I'm not sure. I haven't attended. For last year, I was asked to put in a bid for photography and video coverage for the event, and that's how I got to know about it. Because one of the organizers was a past client from a portrait session. Oh, and by the way, for those of you who are listening to this who are in the wedding and the event space, I hope you're getting an example about when I talk about how we shouldn't think about events being one and done. There's this idea that if you take somebody's portrait, then that's the end of the story, or if you cover somebody's wedding, that's the end of the story. Rather, we should look for ways to maximize the lifetime customer value of the people that we do business with, because it opens up business opportunities in other ways that we cannot fathom. So, like the NSE thing that I spoke about, Nigerian Society of Engineers, I end up doing a covering a wedding for one person. I do a good job of staying in touch. They recommend me for a portrait session to another person, and then I end up doing a good job there, and I stay in touch. And then, as my career starts broadening out and I start doing corporate events and stuff like that, they invite me to put out the bid for the NSE conference for photography and video. I didn't get the job, but that's beside the point. Whether I got the job is besides the point or not. It's to show that from building relationships, you can leverage a wedding and go through all the way through portraits and then end up in corporate functions. So let's stop thinking of these things as one and done for those people in the wedding and the event space. That's why I keep ranting about all these sorts of things. So if you want to be exclusively weddings, then yeah, of course, it's going to be one and done because the person gets married once, and God willing, we don't expect them to get divorced and then get married again. So it's going to be one and done, or at best, maybe another wedding for a member of the bridal party or something like that. But your prospects for repeat business and referrals are limited if you want to remain in that space. But I think we should be open minded and leverage other opportunities as they come across. So that's it with the NSE. Then there's also the real old ones. When I say old, put it in context. I'm an 80s baby, so there might be older fairs because I think there used to be some international motor fair or something like that that my father used to attend, and I've met a client right now who is about 70 years old who remembers some of those fairs. There used to be motor fairs across West Africa. I think even involving some racing, starting in the northern part of Nigeria and crossing through the desert and stuff like that. So I guess that is really, really old, really back in the day. International motor fairs, but that was beyond. That was earlier than my time. So the ones that I have caught are the ones that some of you should be familiar with, and that's for those of us who are in our 40s and approaching 50s or beyond. There's the Abuja International Trade Fair, Lagos International Trade Fair, those sorts of things. I mean, those ones have been going on annually, well, almost annually. What's that word? Is it biannually? When you happen every 2 years or every 3 years? I can't remember. But anyway, those ones seem to be a staple. Abuja International Trade Fair, Lagos International Trade Fair. Those ones are really general in scope. Then, what else? Okay, there was a new one that I saw last year, Abuja International Real Estate Fair or something like that. That was 2022. Then there's also an Abuja International Food Show. That was a new one as well in 2022, and I think that was put together by the Ministry of Tourism. I think is it tourism? The government parastate will put that together. If I was to make a rough guess, I'll say it's Ministry of Tourism. Now, I didn't get to participate in that, but my video partners ended up providing the some of the coverage for that, and I think lighting and sound as well. Yep. So anyway, that's just an example of what trade shows look like, and you see that they span the gamut, whether it's weddings, whether it's fashion, whether it's agriculture, whether it's engineering, or real estate, or food, or fashion. Trade shows are out there, and they are a good way of getting leads and chasing customers. Now, is it worth the time? Heated question, because it's something I get asked a lot, especially when I was really active in the wedding space. People would say, Wedding Expo, is it worth the hassle? And the answer is, it depends. Who is going to be in attendance? Is it going to be mostly industry partners, or is it going to be customers? If you think there are going to be loads of customers there, I think it's worth taking a shot, especially if you have the cash to spare. For instance, brides and babies, it's not expensive, it's affordable. 1 day event. The last time I think was about 50k, also 1 day event. So if business has been good last year and you have some spare cash, you might as well try it out and then see for yourself. So who's going to be in attendance? That's what you should consider. So if it's like NSC events, where I suspect it's mostly industry partners that attend these things, then if you're going there, you know that it's mostly a networking thing, and you're not expecting to get any business immediately from the whole thing. So who is in attendance? Industry partners, or is it going to be customers? Another example that we can use to flesh this out is I think it's called the Consumer Electronics Expo, I think, in America. I can't remember. I think it's the Consumer Electronic Expo, because there was back in the day. I used to enjoy watching BBC Click, and CNN, some CNN program, and around digital and tech stuff, and so they would cover the Consumer Electronics Expo. And for Consumer Electronics Expo, that one was mostly attended by industry partners. So you'd have people there, Ford, General Motors, Sony, big names. Everybody showcasing what it is that they have. You're showcasing the latest high tech car, the latest high tech TV, or your kettle that can boil water but is connected to the internet. Don't know why you would do that. Let's see what else. Or show your latest sustainable batteries, solar panels, or I mean, it's really big, and you even have some people showing off robots that they're about to hit the market with. So it's really huge, and I hear that it's a spectacle spanning several days, and some people even say it's a good form of cardio because you go there, you're walking the whole hall. There's a lot to see, so you come today, you come tomorrow, you come the day after, and it's really huge. Now, even though that one is has mostly industry partners in attendance, the thing is, the event organizers have been able to garner a lot of buzz around the program, and so because of that, there's plenty of media coverage, and that gets ordinary people like you and me interested. So, it's possible that even though retail players might not be in that space, but you can use that as a soft launch for your product or your service. So, if you're coming out into the market with some product and it's the latest and the greatest, then it might be a good idea to show up at Consumer Electronics Expo, because you may have some random people like me or my brother, because my brother also likes tech stuff. So me, my brother, or maybe my brother-in-law, passing through. But apart from that, if you do a good job, be able to court some media attention, court some PR, it's going to be a good way to get a soft launch for your product or your service. So even though it might be something that has industry partners in attendance, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a waste of your time. There's networking opportunities, and you can get some PR and media coverage out of that. Okay, we've done 15 minutes, so let me just blaze through the rest. Let's see. Okay, the kind of skills that you need to pull this off. You're going to need merchandising skills and display skills. And that was the thing that I hated most about trade fairs, I must confess. Because I remember one day I had set up the booth, and my friend Laura from Posh and Pristine events, she passed through and she was like, Tavishima, this looks horrible. You set this place up like you're a carpenter. And um, yeah, she was right, because I have no merchandising skills, I have no display skills. So I just put out the white bed sheet and I just put everything on the table, and that was it. And I couldn't be bothered. So she came through. She put like a flower vase, and she did that hemming thing where you use needles on the sorry, not is it needles, pins. You use pins on the cloth, you bunch them together. The splash of color here and there, and then she propped up one of the books, and then propped up the wedding frames in front, and she did her magic basically, and the table, our stand, ended up looking much more presentable. So that's a skill that you need, because if you're going to go there and just throw things down like a carpenter, don't expect to attract certain kinds of people, because you want the whole thing to be visually appealing to draw people in. So whether it's a real estate fair, whether it's a wedding expo, or whether it's NSE, or whatever it is, depending on the context, you have to find a way to make your stand or your display look real nice. So merchandising, that's a skill that you need. How are you going to display things at your stand? But with the example that I gave, remember, it's not something that you have to handle personally yourself. You can get your friend to come help you out if he or she is more skilled at these sorts of things. You're also going to need rapport building skills, conversational skills, because a lot of time is going to be spent talking to people who are coming through your stand. Make sure you have water, because your throat is going to get dry from all that talking. You also need skills in contact management, or using a CRM. That's a customer relationship management tool, because you're going to be meeting lots of people. You're going to be collecting phone numbers, email addresses, Instagram handles, Twitter handles, Pinterest handles, or whatever. That's for people in the wedding and the event space. You'll be collecting those kinds of details. I'm assuming that if you're in other industries, then you might be collecting LinkedIn handles. But bottom line is, you're going to be collecting a whole lot of data, different kind of contacts that you need to have. You need to be skilled and have the right mindset at managing all this information that you are going to get, because it's going to be absolutely pivotal for the follow-up that you have to perform later. You also need skills in EQ, emotional quotient, relationship building, follow up. You need all of that. Something that people don't talk about, you need to have a high level of physical stamina. Now, for those of us in the wedding and the event space, who used to be in the wedding and the event space, physical stamina is not a problem because as a wedding photographer, you're used to working 12-hour days. You're up, you're at the bride's house or whatever. Okay, let's say for those of you based in Lagos, because of how traffic and how terrible traffic can be, you're up by 4 or 5, so you can get to the bride's house for 6 or 7, and then you're shooting up until maybe 5, 6, and then maybe after party or something. So wedding photographers, wedding planners, no problem. We have the stamina. We can stand for a very long time. But for the rest of you average Joes, the first time you're thrown into one of these things and you find that you have been standing for 6 hours straight talking to people, you uh, you leave the day feeling extremely knackered. So comfortable chairs so you can sit down once in a while and take walks. You guys need to come up with an understanding about when people can take lunch breaks so somebody can come and go and eat or go and drink water or use the loo or whatever. But levels of physical stamina are required. So now, what not to expect? If you're involved in complex sales scenarios, don't expect to sell out all the things that you have brought. What is a complex sales scenario? I'm not going to get into that. Once you're done listening to this episode, scroll back, use the search function in your podcast player. I have made episodes on complex sales scenarios and simple sales scenarios. Listen to that, and you find out what the key distinction is. Well, basically, let's see. Okay, we are 20 minutes over. I need to wrap this up quickly. Okay, so don't expect to sell out if in a complex sales scenario. So, wedding photographers, for instance, at the wedding expo, don't expect to get a bunch of brides book you on that day because wedding photography is more complex than other aspects of the wedding and the event process. Because brides want to see you, they want to see your work, they want to compare you to a couple of people, so don't expect to close the deal today. For complex sales scenarios, people are coming to do research before they pick one person or before they buy. For simple sales scenarios, on the other hand, you can expect to sell out provided that you have the right incentives. Now, an example that I've given in older episodes is people who come to sell hair or to sell Ankara at wedding expos. People who sell hair, and when I say hair, I mean, what's that thing called? Wigs, what else? Wigs, weaves, and those sorts of stuff. And then people who sell Ankara. Ankara is a local fabric, affordable fabric that you can use to make lots of styles, lots of affordable styles. So people who sell Ankara and who sell hair, they do sell out at wedding expos, and that's because it's a simple sales scenario. In that case, what they're selling is hair. You get there, you look at what they have. Either they have Darling Yaki or whatever. I know my wife teases me that Darling Yaki is no longer a thing. Like no respectable woman would use Darling Yaki in today's day and age. For Nigerian babes, anyway. I don't know what they do in Ghana, and I don't know if you people in America use these sorts of things. So anyway, Darling Yaki is all I know. So that's what I'm using for the example. So you get there and you see that they have Darling Yaki in color 0 or in color 3 or in color this or that hue or whatever, and you either like it or you don't. And how much does it go for? It's 10,000 naira. You either have the money or you don't. There's going to be a discount, maybe 20% or whatever. But the thing is, it's a simple sales scenario. You get there, you see it, you like it or you don't. You have the money or you don't. You buy it or you don't. It's that simple. It's that straightforward. And so people who sell hair, they sell out at those events because it's straightforward. They go there, they put up a sign, 5% discount, they put all their hair there, and this is all it takes. The first day might be a little slow for them. One or two people might come, buy a few things. But with Wed Expo, for instance, it lasts 3 days, 3 or 4 days. So those people might go home and then talk to other people that you can't believe. I saw Darling Yaki there. Darling Yaki is normally 15,000 naira, but they have a 2% discount, so I bought it at 13.5 or whatever. And then the second day, that's where all the magic happens. People just seem to descend out of nowhere, and before you know it, they sell out all their Ankara or their hair on day 2, and then on day 3, and then on day 4. So those people, they sell out. It's a simple sales scenario. You either like this Ankara fabric or you don't. You have the money or you don't. You're buying or you're not. It's that simple. But if it's more complex, you're a photographer or you're a wedding planner, people want to look at you, they want to source you out, they want to compare you to other people, things like that before making a decision. So, the main reasons for attending these trade fairs is so that you can get contacts of people to talk to. People have come by your booth who could be possible customers. You're also going to build relationships with other vendors who are there, because those are people that you can partner with later on. My video, a lot of the video crews that I work with, for that's when I still entertain corporate bids for photography and video, are people that I have met through these sorts of things. Networking, not just with customers, but with other um, vendors, like I mentioned. And so that's the main reason for attending these things. If you have the right expectations, and also if you have the right skills to be able to see these things through. Because if you don't have your merchandising right, if you set this thing up like a carpenter, you're not good with conversation, you stink, you haven't had a shower, you don't know how to manage all the contacts that you get, and you have a repulsive personality, you have no emotional quotient, then attending trade fairs is going to be a bad idea, because you're going to go there and chase everybody away, and quite frankly, business is going to flop. So, my general recommendation, if you're attending these things, don't push for the sale at the booth. Don't approach every single person saying buy now, buy now, buy now, buy now, sign up, subscribe, subscribe. No, that's not what you should do, because trade fairs are really noisy, and you can't have complex conversations. You can't consider complex things, because there's music blasting. There's 1,000 people walking all over the place, people bumping into you. The noise is loud. You have to be shouting into each other's ears, all kinds of things. So those are not the best conditions under which to do business. What you should be focusing on is on having qualification conversations, qualification questions. I'm not going to go into detail what those are. Once you're done listening to this episode, if this is your first time, just look for episodes here. Use the search function within this podcast player, and you find my old episodes where I talk about sales frameworks, qualification frameworks, and how sales ought to be conversation led, and you'll get more information about those sorts of things. So basically, when people get to your booth, you should be asking them questions about them. You should be finding out some more about the person, find out some more about the business. You also should try and find out more about the problem, or more about the opportunity that is being explored. So back to my favorite example, well, at least for the last couple of days so far. If you're an architect and you attend one of these trade shows, it's not about people coming to your booth and then you say, sign up, pay me a 50,000 naira retainer so I can design on your buildings. So it's not about your 100k retainer. Okay, 100k is small for architects. Okay, let's make it 1.2 million. So it's not about your 1.2 million retainer from the get go. It's about talking to the person who came to the booth. You're trying to figure out who they are, uh, where they came from, what they're interested in, what projects are they currently working on, what kind of style aesthetics do they have, what are the budgets of the things that they've worked on in the past. And from having all those conversations, that you're going to be able to get a sense of whether there's any possibilities for doing business with them in the future. So if you attend these things, it's not about buy now, buy now, buy now, buy now, except if you have a simple sales scenario. So if you are in a simple sales scenario, so if you are, let's say you sell Gary at and you attend the International Food Festival, then it's straight up. You can buy a sack of my Gary at normally at okay, let me just guess. I don't know how much a sack of Gary cost. So you can buy the sack of Gary at 15,000 naira. But if you attend at this booth today, we're going to sell it to you for 13.5. So how many sacks are you getting? Are you getting 10 or are you getting 20? So in that case, it's a commodity. Straight up, you can go in for the kill. Buy my Gary now. Buy my sacks of rice. Buy my sacks of beans. But if you're the architect, you can't keep doing buy now, buy now, buy now, sign me up, retainer, 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 client agreement. You can't make that push now. It's about having simple conversations to explore stuff so you can do business together. Okay, so sorry that episode 527 has gone for such a long time. I haven't done a 30-minute episode in a very, very, very long time. I just wanted to make sure that we treat it as much as possible here so I wouldn't have to split this up into two episodes. Um, let's see. Okay, I can't remember what next was supposed to do. Okay, I think next is going to be networking. I think I have to have a look at the list of questions. So I think there's something on networking, and then we'll be able to bring this narrative act to a close. That's the sources of lead generation or methods of lead generation. So thank you very much for listening to episode 572. Thanks for your time and attention. I'll catch you guys at the next episode. And keep your mind out. I'm rolling out some products soon. Some coaching, some coaching products, coaching and mentoring products that will be announced soon on the podcast. And for those of you who follow me on other social media outlets, so okay, well, TikTok is dead. No, not TikTok. Twitter. Twitter is dead for me. So if you follow me on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, you'll be hearing some more about that in the future. So thanks for your time and attention. I'll catch you guys at the next episode.